Hi there, how are you? Today is the last day of September and we're finishing our Mind and Body series. And today we have Faye. Faye is in New Zealand and I'm very excited to have her because she is an expert in transforming stress. And I think this talk, you are going to love it. And then why I am bringing this subject, because you will think like stress and toolkits. And as you know, Tockets is all about the foot-brain connection, letting the toes free in order for you also to be aware. And through the feet and the toes, we can feel many emotions. And then, believe it or not, stress is reflected right on the feet. I saw that Faye join. I'm going to invite her right now. Let's see. Oh. Faye, I don't know, it says unable to join. I'm wondering why. Oops. Faye, I know you're watching me. If you can ask to join, that would be amazing. For some reason, I'm not allowed to ask you to join. That has never happened before. Oh no. Faye, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, Faye's going to try something else. And then I also wanted to throw here a little hint of what we're bringing this week. I believe it's tomorrow. We're launching a new collection of socks, totally unexpected. You're going to be so surprised. And it has been, as I told my team, one of the most difficult launches, but because our clients asked for it, we'll listen. So please check our website. If you probably are on our mailing list, you will get an email. And I think Joy is here. And then let us know what you think about our new collection. I will explain more later on. We have Faye here.
Good morning.
I know, always technical issues.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Great. Sorry about the little connection glitch. I just had a bit of a connection glitch here on my end, but now I think we're set to go.
So Faye, what time is in New Zealand now?
So it's 8 a.m. here. I should actually say good afternoon to you guys, not good morning, because it is afternoon there, isn't it?
Right, 8 a.m. October 1st, right?
October 1st, yes. So we've started a new month, and it's a beautiful spring day here in Auckland. We've had a pretty shitty winter, actually, so it's great to start a new month with beautiful weather like today.
Great, because we are here turning into, well, it's already fall, so.
Yes, it is officially fall, and I hope you have a beautiful fall.
Yeah. The other day we went driving around the mountains and it was so beautiful. So Faye, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
This
Yes,
is great
it's great. I really look forward to it. To talk about one of my favorite things in the world.
Yes, and then before starting to talk about stress, let's talk about you. Can you please share very quickly, because those fireside chats, as you know, are short. It's only 15-20 minutes. So we're going to try, to take advantage of the time that we have. So can you please share with us, who is Faye?
With pleasure. So I work in the field of internal conflict resolution, and basically I work with busy, stressed, burnt out professionals who are anxious, tired, stressed, overwhelmed a lot of the time, and I help them to resolve their internal conflicts in order for them to feel calmer, happier, lighter, better, more confident, and more fulfilled. A big part of the work that I do is actually helping professionals relate to stress differently so that their experience of stress transforms.
This,
And yeah,
okay, go ahead, go ahead.
no, go ahead, because I can talk on this subject
I
forever, Paula.
know. You're like ready to go. So I always like to ask basic questions. And at the
Yeah.
end, those are huge subjects. But what is stress?
Right. So there's so many explanations and definitions out there. I'll tell you the standard definition and I'll tell you how I view it and how I perceive it. So stress is basically an adaptive response, right? It is the ability for us internally to respond to changes in the environment that require us to respond appropriately. Now, stress has really taken a bad rap through the years. The way I like to now frame it or reframe it is that stress is not the problem. Because you see, the thing is, stress is actually a friend. It is actually an ally. It actually helps us get a lot of things done. The stress response has been designed in our nervous system to keep us alive. And that's something really, really important that we tend to overlook when we keep thinking about stress as the problem and we keep wanting to push it away and to avoid it. The second thing about stress is that it gives us a lot of fuel. You know, it gives us energy, it gives us focus, it gives us the ability to connect, it gives us the ability to extract meaning in situations. And when I say these things, people actually roll their eyes and they're like, oh, what? But just pause for a moment and think. If you think about the times and the moments where you experience stress in your life, it's probably because it's around something that you value, something that is a priority for you, and something that you care about. Otherwise, we wouldn't feel those, you know, those stress hormones and the physiology of stress before an interview, or before a big musical performance, or before a big presentation, or before, you know, going on our first date, or before our walking down the aisle. I mean, we experience that physiology because it's a feedback mechanism that we actually care, that what we're called to respond to is something that really matters to us. And as we start to connect to that aspect of the stress response, we start to turn down the psychological damage of stress, and we use the stress hormones actually as a fuel in our lives. And that's what I mean when I talk about transforming stress, because it is not the problem, Paula. It really isn't the problem. And as long as we continue to hide from it and to try and avoid it, first of all, we can't avoid it. It's everywhere, and life is going to keep calling on us to respond, because that's what stress is. And if we keep trying to turn it down or to avoid it or to eliminate it, we're not going to have much success, and we're cutting ourselves off from the access of fuel that the new stress responses allow us to fuel us.
And then, so I remember when I learned about stress and about what you were doing, you were mentioning about the 7 steps formula to transform stress.
Yes,
I know
yes,
it's a big subject and you have a
yes.
whole workshop about this. But can you please give us a hint for people?
Absolutely.
How can we transform stress? What are like few tips or few things that we can do that can help us actually to embrace stress and to take stress as a tool instead
Yes,
of
absolutely.
as the enemy?
Yeah, for sure. And if you and your listeners would like a more in-depth explanation of the 7 steps, I actually have a complimentary short video series with a template that I'm going to be releasing in the next kind of 7 to 10 days. So if anybody is listening and they want it, just send me a DM and I'll make that available to you once it's ready and packaged. It should be ready in about 7 to 10 days, so you have like a more of a hand holding through those 7 steps. But since we're here and talking about it, yeah, with pleasure, with pleasure. See, I think the first thing that needs to happen is to want to change your relationship with whatever is bothering you right now, whether it's stress or depression or anxiety or illness or whatever. That's the first thing, assuming responsibility, saying like, I want things to be different, because there's a recognition that whatever I'm doing right now hasn't been serving me. That's a really important step in any change that we want to make, not just in the area of stress relief. But the other thing, when I say stress is not the problem, there's a three-tier kind of approach to that, or perspective on that. The first one is resetting the nervous system. It's so important to recharge. It's so important to reset, Paula. You know, we are, just like we're born with a part of our nervous system that does stress, we're also born with a part of the nervous system that knows how to recover from stress. We have a very complex nervous system that allows us to heal and to recharge and to restore after stressful situations. But what happens with a lot of people is that they override that and they don't give themselves enough time in their day, in their week, in their calendar to spend time with in that green zone, like I like to call it, you know, where the parasympathetic is on board. That's so, so, so important, the reset. The other part is to educate yourself and inform yourself about the new sciences of stress, because there's many stress responses, as we were talking about, not just the one that we were once upon a time told about is really bad for us. And the third part about, you know, stress is not the real problem is looking at what is the internal limitation, the internal block, what is the unresolved internal situation that's contributing to your stress. You know, have you gotten over that past relationship? Are there limiting beliefs that are getting in the way? Are there values that are not aligned? Are there negative emotions that you're dealing with that haven't been brought into check? All of these internal conflicts, if they're not dealt with, are going to keep the brain stuck in the sympathetic functioning, or stuck in that fear response and that stressful response. So three things. First of all, reset the nervous system. Second of all, educate yourself, relate to stress differently. And I have a new course coming up in a couple of weeks that's all about that. And third of all, look at the underlying cause of the stress, the internal conflicts, resolve those internal conflicts, and your relationship with stress will transform, and you'll be able to access it as a fuel, and it will no longer be a limitation in your life.
And it's great what you're saying about educate yourself, because I think stress to me is also such a big stereotype word, right? That we use it here and there, and it has such a negative connotation. And
we use it loosely, Paula, and we use it very loosely without really thinking about what we're saying, because we don't have we can't read really what's going on inside. And when you start being able, and the upcoming course that I have is all about that, to start helping you to read what's going on the inside so that you can relate to stress differently. Because as I said, stress is not going to go away.
Right, because for me, it's like if you compare it with any illness, for me, stress is it's kind of the illness. There are symptoms, but what's causing those symptoms, that is the important thing. And then sometimes we focus on, I'm stressed, I need to exercise in order to release my stress, but it goes beyond that. I'm really interested in one thing, because on those interviews, one of the things that I find really, really exciting, important, actually inspirational, is how did you get to discover this? Because I know a bit of your story, and I would like if you could share it, because I think it's important that you have been your own case study, and then from that case study, you want to share it with others, and kind of share it's like, I did it, you can do it.
Absolutely, because once upon a time when I was 12 years old and we were going around in a circle in school and my teacher asked, what did you want to be? I never said that I wanted to be an internal conflict resolution expert, It's one of these things that developed in response to a history that I had with chronic stress, and then all of its accompaniments, like with chronic stress comes PTSD and chronic depression and chronic anxiety and chronic fatigue and a series of illnesses and diseases and chronic diseases. And around the time that I turned 40, my life literally crashed and tumbled down around me. And then I got a pretty scary health diagnosis. And that's when I was really called to look at what was really going on in my life, because it wasn't really the job. I mean, that's what I was telling you. It was the job and the relationship and the fast-paced lifestyle. but it really wasn't all of that. It really wasn't. I mean, sure, those were challenging situations, but that's not what was really offsetting my nervous system. What was offsetting my nervous system was a bunch of stuff that I never dealt with in the past. What was offsetting my nervous system is that I kept going and going and going and not taking the time to really recharge and reset. And also this mindset that stress is terrible and nothing good can come out of stress. And when I changed all of these things, when I resolved all of these things in my own life, things quickly resolved with my health, with my energy, and in my life. And then since then, you know, the next kind of logical thing has been to share the message with others, you know, to spread the word, so as it were. And I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, no, and this is great, because I think we blame either others or, you know,
Yeah.
the job, the environment, etc.
Yeah.
But many things that happen in our life are really because whatever we feel, we haven't, you know, dealt with.
Totally.
And then it's about taking responsibility. And I think transforming stress is responsibility, right? It's just
I mean, everything starts there. Anytime you want to transform anything, it starts there. And then it's those 3 tiers that we talked about, which in particular are very, very important to transforming stress.
so. For example, well, Talkies is all about feet and the foot-brain connection, and the fact that our nervous system ends or starts in our feet, right? So, for example, what I notice is when I'm stressed or in a stressful moment, I try to contract my feet. There is tension in my feet, and I can feel it in my steps. I know you also do yoga, Pilates.
Yeah.
How do you see that relation between the feet and stress?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. See, the thing is, I mean, as you know, and as you know, many of you know that are listening, our mind, our nervous system does not live in between our ears. It actually lives in our body, right? That's why when we're feeling anxious or sad or, you know, stressed or overwhelmed, the body doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. It contracts. It feels tense. And the opposite is also true. When we're feeling happy and delighted and joyful, the body feels very different, doesn't it? And so when there is tension in the mind, you're going to feel it in the body. And because of that mind-body connection, you can also overturn the tension in the mind by starting to release tension from the body. One of the things that I teach my clients, and I do this for myself every single morning, is I get a tennis ball. Well, it's actually a myofascial release ball. But if you don't have a myofascial release ball, get a tennis ball and just roll the ball along the whole surface of the foot, and really spend time around the toe joints as well, and around the fleshy parts of the toes, because there's so many nerve endings there and so many acupressure points and meridian points for vitality on the toes. I mean, they say that that's why, if any of you have ever had reflexology, you know, if there's, that can be a very telling indication of what's going on the inside. If there's tension on your feet, there's tension in your body. And so just gliding that ball on all corners of the feet, I find has an amazingly releasing effect on the nervous system, and an amazingly releasing effect on the tensions that start from literally the ground up.
Yeah, and this is great. And I think what you said complements what, you know, other guests that I had on this fireside chat said, like reflexologists, people that specialize in body assessment, coaches, and feet are really, really key, and they are the map of our body. They can tell us so much. And I mean, the sad part is like we put them on the side, we abandon them.
We take it for granted, don't we?
Right. So this is a great tip. We are, I mean, I would love to keep talking about this subject, but I'm committed to the time. And so I have the last 2 questions that I ask everyone. And then, so the first one is, who do you admire?
Right.
Who inspires you, and why?
Yes. Yes. So you actually have met the person that I admire most on the planet. It's my husband.
Oh,
And I admire my husband so much because now I've known him for about 12 years, with 12 to 14, 12, 13 years actually. And hand on heart, this man has never said a single unkind word about anyone or anything. He embodies those virtues of positive psychology and of resilience that so many of us dedicate our lives to try and bring into our lives. But this is just his natural design and his natural makeup, and I have such admiration for that. And I just find it such a blessing to be surrounded by that on a daily basis, and that inspires me profusely.
this is so so beautiful. It's funny. Once, and actually, my meditation teacher or guide, once he told me a relationship can be maintained as long as you admire. There is admiration for each other,
Yeah.
and then this is beautiful.
Very, very fortunate, Paula. Very, very fortunate, but that didn't come to be in my life, that type of relationship, until I resolved those internal conflicts and worked on myself, and then that just kind of followed and flowed naturally from that.
This is beautiful. And then the very last question is, what do you think of your own feet? And why I'm asking this is because 60 to 65% of the people have a negative relation with their feet. Like, not only
Oh my
they
God.
ignore them, but it's just they don't like them. So I
Oh my
was
God.
wondering,
I
what's your
adore my
relationship?
feet. Are you kidding? I love my feet. I actually have rituals for my feet. I actually touch my feet every day. Like when I'm doing the myofascial, I touch my feet and I examine my feet, but also I apply creams on my feet, on the heels of my feet, so that they're always nice and soft. Every time I go for a pedicure, the pedicure says, these are the softest feet I've ever touched, because I really, really care for my feet. I do Epsom salt baths regularly, and I just find it such a treat to connect to the place where energy begins, really. I mean, that's the electromagnetic field begins down there in the soles of the feet. So I'm very attentive to my feet, and I love looking at my feet and my forward bends in yoga. I love it.
This is great. Thank you, because I think probably you have been the first or second person in this interview, and probably the first one that shows so much love for the feet, which, I love feet. And then, so if anyone wants to contact you, or dive a bit more into transforming stress in their lives,
Yes.
where can they find you?
Yes, so on this platform and on Facebook and on YouTube under my name, Faye Lawand, my website is ready very, 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 very soon. And also those resources that I mentioned, just send me a direct message and I'll make those resources available to you complimentary within the next 7 to 10 days. And I do have a course on the new science of stress relief that delves directly on what we talked about, and it's posted on my Facebook page, Faye Lawand. And if you just let me know that you were part of this, I'm very happy to extend the early bird to you as well.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. So nice to see you, Paula.
Yes,
It's really good to do this. Really, really good to do this.
this is great. That's why I love to have this type of fireside chats. It's just to bring either the people I have met. Sometimes it's our followers, clients. Sometimes it's just people that we admire on Instagram. Because behind a beautiful picture, there is always an amazing story, and there is
Yes,
so
there is.
much, inspiration. And you don't have to be a huge influencer in order to inspire people. I think
Mm.
just with what your own life is already an inspiration. So this is what I want to bring here, and also, of course, all related to faith. So thank you so much for all the tips
It's
that you
my
shared.
pleasure. Thank you for a great conversation. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll be in touch again soon.
Yes, and I send you a big
Gracias,
hug.
Paula. Thank you. Virtual hug. Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. See you.
Thank you for
Bye.
joining. Bye.
Pleasure. Pleasure.